Picture this. You're sitting in a beige conference room while 18 people you trusted spend 2 hours reading 165 specific reasons why you don't belong at the company where you've given 5 years of your life. Reason number 23, leaves exactly at 5:30 p.m. Reason number 67, never participates in birthday celebrations. Reason number 134, brings lunch from home instead of ordering pizza with the team. Reason number 165, makes clicking sounds with his pen during meetings. My name is Danny Davidson, I'm 49 years old, and I want you to imagine what that feels like. I sat there listening to my supervisor, Wade Phillips, read each item like he was announcing lottery numbers. My project manager, Brenda Hayes, nodded along like she was conducting some orchestra of destruction. 16 other faces stared at me, waiting for me to break down, make excuses, or storm out, but here's what they didn't know. 3 days earlier, I'd received the most important phone call of my career, and as Brenda finished reading the last reason on their list, I stood up, adjusted my watch, and said 5 words that changed everything. Thank you for the feedback. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd memorized. Hello, this is Danny. I accept your offer. Yes, that $175,000 signing bonus works perfectly. Before I tell you what happened next, I need to know something from you. Have you ever been the person who makes everything run smooth while everyone else takes the credit? Because what I'm about to share will either make you feel understood or make you realize you need to start protecting yourself immediately. Let me take you back to where this all began. 5 years ago, I started working at Pinnacle Solutions as a senior operations manager. That's not the real name. I can't use the real name because what happened next involves some serious legal territory. Let's call it Pinnacle Solutions. I was supposed to oversee process improvements for manufacturing clients and make sure their production lines ran efficiently. But from my first week, I noticed something that would define my entire experience there. The company was held together by duct tape and hope. Their biggest client, a steel fabrication company worth millions, was threatening to leave because their production efficiency had dropped 30% and nobody could figure out why. I watched Wade scramble for days, throwing around buzzwords like synergy and optimization while the client got more frustrated. So I drove out to their plant on a Saturday, walked the floor, talked to the shift supervisors, and found the real problem. They'd reorganized their workflow based on some consultant's PowerPoint presentation, but nobody had asked the guys actually running the machines. The new layout created a bottleneck at the finishing station where parts had to travel 200 feet between processes instead of the original 50 feet. Simple fix. Move 3 machines and redesign the material flow. I left a detailed report on Wade's desk Monday morning with a simple note. This might help. The report included CAD drawings of the optimal layout, cost analysis showing $12,000 in moving expenses versus $180,000 in annual efficiency gains, and a timeline for implementation that would minimize production downtime. Wade presented my solution Tuesday like he'd invented it himself. The client's efficiency jumped 28% in 2 weeks. Wade got a promotion, and that became my life. I fixed bottlenecks that didn't officially exist, solved capacity problems others created, and watched as my fingerprints disappeared from every success story. When the computer system crashed during a major client presentation, I rebuilt their production database from backup files while everyone else panicked. When a client demanded impossible timeline changes, I figured out how to reconfigure their entire production schedule by working through the weekend. But I made one critical mistake. I never demanded credit. I never played politics. I never made myself visible in the ways that apparently mattered. I thought results spoke for themselves. I thought solving problems was enough. I thought being reliable meant being valuable. I was wrong about all of those things. The truth is, while I was keeping their clients' production lines running, my colleagues were building something else entirely. They were building a case against me. It started small. During team meetings, people would make comments about how I didn't participate enough in office culture. When I focused on work, instead of chatting about weekend plans, someone would whisper that I was antisocial. When I ate lunch at my desk to catch up on production reports, they said I wasn't a team player. Wade began scheduling important meetings during my lunch break, then acting surprised when I asked for updates. Brenda started giving me assignments with impossible deadlines, then expressing disappointment when I had to work late to complete them. A new hire named Jason Miller, fresh MBA who'd never set foot on a factory floor, made jokes about how I probably lived at the office because I was always first in and often last out. But the real turning point came 8 months ago. I was working on the annual efficiency analysis for our biggest client, an automotive parts manufacturer with 4 facilities across the Midwest. Their production costs had crept up 15% over 2 years, and they were threatening to move operations overseas unless we could identify solutions. I spent 3 weeks at their plants, timing every process, measuring material flow, analyzing shift patterns. I found 23 separate inefficiencies that were costing them $2.3 million annually. Simple fixes: reorganizing tool storage to reduce walking time, adjusting shift schedules to eliminate equipment idle time, redesigning quality checkpoints to catch defects earlier in the process. My phone rang just as I was finalizing the report. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize, but the voice on the other end changed everything. "Mr. Davidson, this is Roger Martinez from Apex Strategic Group. We've been watching your work for quite some time. Would you be interested in discussing a senior position with our firm, Apex Strategic Group?" Every person in our industry knew that name. They were Pinnacle Solutions' biggest competitor. The company that won every contract we lost, the firm that somehow always seemed to be one step ahead of us in every proposal. Roger explained that they'd been tracking the success patterns at Pinnacle Solutions for over a year. They'd noticed something interesting. Every major efficiency gain, every retained client, every innovative solution had one thing in common: my work, my ideas, my problem solving. "We've been analyzing industry reports," Roger continued. "When manufacturing companies talk about breakthrough improvements, they mention Pinnacle Solutions. But when we dig deeper, when we talk to plant managers and operations directors, they always ask for you specifically. They weren't trying to steal trade secrets or poach random employees. They were trying to hire the person who was actually driving success at their biggest competitor. They were trying to hire me. The offer was staggering. My current salary at Pinnacle was $75,000 minus decent money, but tight with 2 kids approaching college. Roger was offering $225,000, exactly triple what I was making, plus a signing bonus of $175,000, plus my own team, my own projects, and something I'd never had at Pinnacle Solutions: recognition for the work I actually did. "I need to ask you something," I said. "How do you know about my specific contributions? Most of my work gets presented under other people's names." Roger chuckled. "Danny, when a steel plant goes from 68% efficiency to 91% efficiency in 2 weeks, and the only change is bringing in Pinnacle Solutions, we notice. When an automotive manufacturer saves $2.3 million in annual costs, we pay attention. When these companies specifically request that operations guy who understands our processes, we know who they're talking about." I told Roger I needed time to think about it. I wasn't ready to abandon the company where I'd invested so much of myself. Loyalty meant something to me, even if it wasn't reciprocated. That loyalty was about to be tested in ways I never imagined. Over the next few weeks, the atmosphere at work shifted. Conversations stopped when I entered rooms. People started excluding me from lunch plans they'd never invited me to anyway, but now they made sure I knew about it. Brenda began assigning me tasks that seemed designed to set me up for failure. She'd give me reports due Monday morning and email them to me Friday at 4 p.m. She'd schedule client calls during my plant visits, then act disappointed when I couldn't participate. She started questioning my recommendations in front of clients, suggesting we needed fresh perspectives on manufacturing processes. Then Wade called me into his office for what he said was a routine performance discussion. He sat behind his desk with a legal pad covered in notes and told me that several team members had expressed concerns about my fit with company culture. "What specific concerns?" I asked. He flipped through his notes like he was reading a script. "Well, you don't seem to engage with your colleagues on a personal level. You don't participate in team-building activities. Some people feel like you think you're better than everyone else because you spend so much time on the shop floor. I complete every assignment ahead of schedule. I've helped solve problems that saved us 3 major clients. I work more hours than anyone else in this department, and I spend time on shop floors because that's where the actual problems are. Work performance and team dynamics are 2 different things, Danny. This is a collaborative environment. We need people who can work well with others." The irony was suffocating. I was the only person actually collaborating with anyone. When Jason needed help understanding production processes, I spent hours walking him through the details. When Brenda's presentations fell apart, I quietly fixed them and never mentioned it. When Wade's strategies failed, I found alternatives and let him take credit. But apparently collaboration meant laughing at jokes I didn't find funny and pretending to enjoy conversations about TV shows I didn't watch. "Danny, I'm going to be frank with you," Wade continued. "The company is changing. We're bringing in younger talent, people with fresh ideas. MBA graduates who understand modern management theories." There it was. Age discrimination, dressed up as fresh perspectives. Jason Miller was 26 with 0 manufacturing experience but an MBA from Northwestern. He'd spent 2 months with us and already had strong opinions about how to optimize processes he'd never seen operate. Are you saying my 20 years of experience is a problem? I'm saying we need to adapt to new methodologies. Client expectations are evolving. They want innovation, not just maintenance. 2 weeks later, Roger called again. Apex Strategic Group had won another major contract, beating out Pinnacle Solutions by proposing exactly the kind of process improvement approach I'd been suggesting for months. We're prepared to increase the package, he said. And honestly, Danny, we need someone with your skills. We have 15 major clients asking specifically for the kind of efficiency analysis you're known for. What do you mean known for? Your reputation in this industry is bigger than you realize. When manufacturing companies need real solutions, instead of fancy presentations, they ask for you by name. We've had 3 companies tell us they'll only sign contracts if we can guarantee the same level of service they get from that Davidson guy at Pinnacle. That conversation haunted me for days. I started paying attention to things I'd ignored before. When clients called our main number asking for help, the receptionist often transferred them directly to my extension. When other firms tried to recruit our senior staff, they mentioned wanting to understand how Pinnacle Solutions achieved such consistent results. I was the consistent results. I was the reason clients stayed. I was the secret ingredient everyone else was taking credit for. But I still wasn't ready to leave. Something inside me believed that loyalty and hard work would eventually be recognized. I thought if I just kept proving my value, the people around me would eventually see it. I was about to learn exactly how much they valued me. My wife, Linda, had been watching this whole situation develop. She'd seen me come home frustrated, seen me working weekends to fix problems other people had created, seen me get passed over for promotions that went to people with half my experience. Danny, she said one evening as I was reviewing production reports at the kitchen table, Sarah's tuition is due next month. Kevin's college applications are due in 3 months. We've been living paycheck to paycheck for 2 years and you're killing yourself for people who don't appreciate you. She was right. Sarah was a sophomore at Northwestern, $32,000 a year in tuition. Kevin was applying to engineering programs that would cost even more. Linda worked part-time at the library, bringing in maybe $15,000 a year. We were surviving, but barely. What if they're never going to appreciate you? She asked. What if this is as good as it gets at Pinnacle? The meeting was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. Wade sent an email to the entire team. Mandatory staff meeting to discuss team performance and collaboration improvement strategies. Nothing unusual about that. We had these meetings every few months. I walked into the conference room expecting another lecture about synergy and team building. Instead, I found 18 of my colleagues sitting around the table with printed documents in front of them. Wade stood at the front of the room with Brenda beside him, both wearing expressions I'd never seen before. Danny, please have a seat, Wade said, gesturing to a single chair facing the rest of the group. That's when I noticed the banner someone had hung on the wall behind Wade's head, Team Improvement Initiative, building a better workplace together. The setup hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't a meeting, this was a tribunal. Brenda cleared her throat and lifted a thick stack of papers. Over the past several weeks, team members have been documenting specific behaviors and patterns that impact our collaborative work environment. We've compiled these observations into a comprehensive list that we'd like to share with you. My brain struggled to process what was happening. I looked around the room. Jason Miller sat there with a smirk on his face. 3 people I'd trained personally wouldn't make eye contact. The receptionist who transferred client calls to me daily was taking notes. A list of 165 specific reasons why your current approach to teamwork needs significant adjustment, Wade explained. We're going to read through each item so you understand exactly how your behavior affects your colleagues. The room went completely silent except for the hum of the air conditioning system. 18 pairs of eyes stared at me, and I realized this wasn't a performance review or a team-building exercise. This was a coordinated attack disguised as constructive feedback. Brenda began reading. Number 1. Arrives at work before anyone else, making colleagues feel guilty about their schedule. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. They were criticizing me for being early. Number 2. Never joins conversations about weekend plans or personal life. Number 3. Eats lunch at desk instead of socializing with team. Number 4. Completes assignments ahead of deadline, creating unrealistic expectations for others. She continued reading and reading and reading. Number 15. Asks too many technical questions during client presentations. Number 28. Remembers details from meetings that others forgot. Number 43. brings own tools to job sites instead of using company equipment. For the first 30 minutes, I sat there thinking this had to be some kind of mistake, maybe a misguided team-building exercise. But as the list went on, I realized the depth of planning that had gone into this. Number 67, never participates in birthday celebrations. Number 82, prefers discussing work during work hours. Number 96, doesn't own a flat-screen TV, making it impossible to discuss popular shows. They had cataloged every aspect of my personality, every work habit, every preference that made me different from them. Jason Miller was actually taking notes as Brenda read, adding his own commentary. Number 118, knows too much about client production schedules, making others feel uninformed. Number 134, brings lunch from home instead of ordering pizza with the team. Number 147, stays late to finish projects without being asked. I watched Wade's face as Brenda read. He wasn't uncomfortable, he wasn't embarrassed, he was satisfied. This was exactly what he wanted, a public humiliation designed to force me out without having to fire me. Number 156, uses technical terminology that others don't understand. Number 162, maintains personal relationships with plant managers. Number 165, makes clicking sounds with his pen during meetings. The clicking pen, I looked down at my hands. I was unconsciously clicking my pen right now, a nervous habit I'd developed over years of taking notes during production meetings. They'd turned even that into evidence against me. When Brenda finally reached the end, the room fell silent again. Everyone stared at me, waiting for my response, waiting for tears, arguments, apologies, or resignation. But sitting there, listening to 165 reasons why being good at my job was apparently a character flaw, something crystallized in my mind. Not anger, something colder and more calculating. These people didn't want me to improve. They wanted me gone. The whole charade was designed to make me quit so they wouldn't have to deal with the legal complications of firing someone who'd never missed a deadline, never lost a client, never failed to deliver results. I looked around the room one more time, at Jason Miller, who couldn't tell the difference between a lathe and a milling machine but had opinions about manufacturing efficiency. At Brenda Hayes, who'd never set foot on a production floor but questioned my recommendations to clients. At Wade Phillips, who'd built his career on presenting other people's solutions as his own. I thought about my wife Linda, working part-time at the library to help pay bills. I thought about Sarah, worried about next semester's tuition. I thought about Kevin, dreaming of engineering school while we struggled to save money for applications. I thought about 20 years of getting up at 5 a.m. to solve other people's problems. 20 years of loyalty to companies that viewed me as disposable. 20 years of watching less capable people get promoted because they played politics better than they ran production lines. I stood up, checked my watch, and said, "Thank you for the feedback." The confusion on their faces was immediate. This wasn't the reaction they'd expected. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd memorized 3 weeks earlier. "Roger, this is Danny Davidson. I'm ready to accept your offer." The silence in that conference room was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. You could have heard a pin drop. Wade's face went through about 7 different expressions in 5 seconds. Brenda actually dropped her stack of papers. Jason Miller's mouth fell open. "Yes, the $175,000 signing bonus works perfectly," I continued, never taking my eyes off Wade. "I can start Monday. And yes, I understand you'd like me to bring my client relationships with me. I think that can be arranged." I ended the call and slipped my phone back into my jacket pocket. The room remained frozen. "Well," I said, gathering my notebook from the table, "I appreciate you taking the time to help me understand why I'm not a good fit here. It's made my decision much easier." Wade finally found his voice. "Danny, let's not be hasty. This was meant to be constructive feedback." "Constructive?" I looked around the room. "You just spent 2 hours reading 165 reasons why being competent at my job makes me a bad teammate. How exactly is that constructive?" I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "You know what's interesting? In 5 years here, not one of you ever asked me why I work the way I do. Why I arrive early, why I stay late, why I focus on solutions instead of socializing." I looked directly at Brenda. "You want to know why I don't laugh at Wade's jokes? Because while he's making jokes, I'm usually thinking about how to fix whatever production crisis he created that morning." Then I looked at Wade. "And you want to know why I complete assignments so quickly? Because I actually understand what our clients need, and I've been doing the work that 3 other people should be doing." I reached for the door handle. "Enjoy explaining to your clients why their trusted contact won't be available anymore. I'm sure they'll understand." The next morning, I cleaned out my desk before anyone else arrived. As I was packing my personal items, I found something that made me pause. In my filing cabinet, I had folders for every major client we'd worked with over the past 5 years. Not official company files, but my own notes. Digital records of every conversation, every production issue, every solution I had provided. Relationship maps showing who made decisions, who influenced those decisions, and what mattered most to each facility. I'd kept these records because I genuinely cared about doing good work. But looking at them now, I realized they represented something much more valuable. They represented 5 years of trust, relationship building, and problem solving that belonged to me, not to Pinnacle Solutions. I photographed every page in those folders before I left the building. Monday morning, Roger Martinez met me in the lobby of Apex Strategic Group's facility. The building was everything Pinnacle Solutions' outdated space wasn't modern, efficient, designed for people who actually wanted to be there. Before we go upstairs, Roger said, "I want you to understand something. We didn't hire you to be another operations manager. We hired you to be exactly who you already are, the person who solves problems nobody else can solve, the person who builds relationships that last decades." He handed me a folder marked Client Transition Opportunities. These are companies that have expressed interest in working with Apex Strategic Group, but only if we can demonstrate the same level of service they've grown accustomed to elsewhere. I think you'll recognize most of the names. I opened the folder and felt my heart start racing. Every major client from Pinnacle Solutions was listed. Not just listed, but detailed with specific notes about their current frustrations, contract renewal dates, and decision-making timelines. How did you get this? We didn't steal this information, if that's what you're wondering. These companies reached out to us. Apparently, there's been some concern in the industry about service quality at certain firms. Companies are quietly exploring alternatives. My phone started ringing before I even reached my new office. "Mr. Davidson, this is Paul Brenner from Grainger Manufacturing. I heard you'd moved to Apex Strategic Group. We've been having some issues with our current consulting firm, and I was wondering if we could schedule a meeting." Grainger Manufacturing, Pinnacle Solutions' second largest client, worth $1.6 million annually. "I'd be happy to meet with you, Paul. How does Thursday afternoon work?" By lunch, I'd received calls from 6 more clients, all expressing frustration with Pinnacle Solutions, all asking about the possibility of switching to Apex Strategic Group, all mentioning my name specifically. Wade called me that afternoon, just as I was reviewing production schedules for my first client meeting. "Danny, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Several of our clients are asking about you, and I wanted to clarify that you're still bound by your non-compete agreement." I leaned back in my new chair and looked out the window at the modern facility around me. "Wade, you might want to have your legal team review my employment contract. I signed a non-disclosure agreement about internal processes and confidential information. I never signed a non-compete. Your company doesn't offer those to operations-level employees." Silence on the other end of the line. Besides, I continued, "I'm not soliciting your clients. They're soliciting me." "There's a significant difference. Look, maybe we can work something out. What would it take to get you to come back? We could discuss a promotion, maybe a raise to $85,000. I thought about that offer. A $10,000 raise after 5 years of exceeding every metric, solving every crisis, and building every client relationship that kept their doors open. "Wade, last week you facilitated a meeting where 18 people spent 2 hours explaining why I shouldn't work there. I'm going to assume you meant what you said." Thursday afternoon, I walked into Grainger Manufacturing's corporate office for my first official meeting as Apex Strategic Group's operations director. Paul Brenner looked exactly like I'd expected based on our phone conversations over the past 3 years. Mid-50s, practical suit. The demeanor of someone who valued results over presentations. "Danny, I'll be direct. Working with Pinnacle Solutions has become frustrating. Our account manager doesn't understand our production processes. Our reports are consistently late, and when we have problems, it takes days to get answers. But every time we called you directly, everything got resolved immediately." He slid a contract across the table. "We want to work with you, not with your former employer. Can Apex Strategic Group handle our account?" The contract was worth $1.6 million annually. It was Grainger Manufacturing's entire consulting budget, and they were offering to transfer it completely to Apex Strategic Group. "We can absolutely handle your account, Paul. When would you like to start the transition?" "Immediately. We've already notified Pinnacle Solutions that we won't be renewing our contract when it expires next month." Over the next 4 months, the pattern continued. 8 major clients representing $4.2 million in annual revenue chose to follow me to Apex Strategic Group. Not because I convinced them to leave, but because they'd been quietly frustrated for months and finally had an alternative they trusted. The legal threats from Pinnacle Solutions never materialized, probably because their lawyers explained the same thing Roger had explained to me. Client relationships belong to the person who built them, not to the company that employed that person. 12 months later, I was standing in my corner office, looking out at the production floor of our expanded facility. Apex Strategic Group had grown our manufacturing division to 28 employees. We'd won 14 new clients who had never worked with Pinnacle Solutions. Our revenue projections for the year were being exceeded by 35%. My salary of $225,000 plus bonuses had allowed Linda to quit her part-time job. Sarah's tuition was paid in full with money left over. Kevin had been accepted to Purdue's engineering program with a partial scholarship, and we could afford to cover the rest without stress. But the real satisfaction wasn't financial, it was professional. For the first time in my career, I worked somewhere that valued what I brought to the table. My name was on project reports. Clients knew they were getting my expertise, not some diluted version filtered through office politics. Wade called me one more time about 6 months after I'd left. Pinnacle Solutions had lost 12 major clients and was laying off staff. Danny, I want you to know that whole meeting thing wasn't my idea. Upper management pushed for it. Maybe we handled things wrong. I thought about that conversation for a long time afterward, about how easy it would have been to avoid all the drama if they just treated competence like an asset instead of a threat. So here's what I want you to take from my story. If you're the person who makes everything work while everyone else takes credit, document your contributions and make sure the right people know where the results come from. If you're the person who solves problems nobody else can solve, don't hide that light under a bushel. And if you're giving loyalty to people who don't deserve it, remember that loyalty should flow both ways. The people who undervalue you are counting on you to undervalue yourself. They're counting on you to stay quiet, stay invisible, and keep fixing their mistakes without demanding recognition. Don't give them that satisfaction. Your expertise has value. Your experience matters. And somewhere out there are people who will appreciate what you bring to the table. You just have to be willing to find them.